Hello, my friend. Welcome. I hope you're having an outstanding day. This is Heather, and this is the Back to Me podcast. And this is the super awesome, amazing human edition where we talk to somebody very cool who's going to tell us some things that we didn't know before, hopefully, or a new way to look at things, or just something that makes our brains go, wow, I didn't see that before. No pressure, by the way, Michelle. So today I'm welcoming Machele Galloway from LifeLeap Coaching. Hi, Michele.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to do the interview.
Absolutely. I know we were talking about this just before we came on. So you're a self-love coach.
Yes.
That's amazing. I wanted to ask you though, how did you get into coaching, and what drew you into the self-love coaching?
Oh, it's so interesting. So I actually worked at the same company for 25 years. I had no intentions of ever leaving that company. And I wouldn't say I loved my job, but I made really good money and it was a great job. And it was a privately owned company for 100 years. And then we got bought out by an equity firm. And I was like, oh my goodness, I might lose my job because oftentimes they lay people off. And I literally had not worked anywhere but Sonic Drive-In in high school.
Right.
And then this company. And so I had hired a life coach that really helped me work on things, and a school that I had kind of like looked at for life coaches open online certification. And I was like, oh, I'll do this as a plan B just in case I get laid off. Then I can go do this.
Right.
And that's not, I ended up enrolling, fell in love with it. And I used to travel in my last job. So I had to coach on the weekends for free as I went through certification. And it was like I ended up with a husband and a boyfriend at the end. I was like, okay, now I have this job and now I am in love with coaching. And it was the hardest decision I've ever had to make, is to walk away from that career to pursue life coaching.
And what do you think, what made you able to finally make that decision, to make that break?
Honestly, it was my mom being annoyed at me for talking about it so much because it was like, I think in my bones, I knew I would be really good at it. But at the time, I wasn't really self-confident. It for sure wasn't like, oh, I can pull this off. And I'm single. So it's like I had no paying clients either. I couldn't do both at the same time. It was too difficult. And I kept talking about it and trying to like weigh out my option. My mom one day said, oh my God, Michelle, you've got to do it or don't. I'm so sick of hearing about this. And that led me, I like developed a decision-making process that I put myself through that I use all the time with my clients now.
Is that the new bitch energy?
No. No, the
Oh,
new bitch energy is a different thing. This is like a how to make a difficult decision process. And so that's what, and it's basically a comparison of two options, but in a creative way that I've never had somebody go through it that didn't know exactly what they needed to do, which is really fun.
that's
And
awesome.
yeah.
That's like super powerful to actually be able to help someone make that kind of decision, right?
Yeah, because uncertainty is my least favorite emotion. I think most people's, it's not my favorite.
Yeah, that uncertainty creates that anxiety and that stress. And then when you make that decision, you're just like, and
Yeah.
everything's okay after that. And then,
Yeah.
so how did that lead you into the self-love coaching?
That just became a natural organic thing. I ended up attracting so I started out without a niche. Even now, I don't really, in my marketing, I don't have a very specific niche, but I attracted all of these high performing women who were very successful materially in the financial career, but they did it by being just hard on themselves. Like they didn't even realize they were being hard on themselves. And so I would mirror that back to them in our sessions. And so it's interesting. I have a lot of solopreneur clients, and that journey is even more about self-love than business. It's so fascinating. So it just kind of organically became that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is hard because I'm a solopreneur, it is hard. You don't get a lot of feedback except the story you tell yourself And it's not always the best story,
No, it's not.
right? It's like, I
Yeah.
suck. Nobody likes me. No, come on. That would be silly.
It's amazing what it brings everything up, everything, and it's, I mean, as much as it is about learning business, it's way more about developing self-respect and trust and love. And it's really
Boundaries.
fascinating. Yeah.
Boundaries, I think, are one of the hardest for
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
some coaches, or not just coaches, because I coach more than coaches, but entrepreneurs for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a process, it's a process. So tell me, because I was fascinated by this new bitch energy. So people are going to go, "What are you talking about, Heather?" So you were telling me as we came on, and I want you to explain it again because you told me, and then I was like, "Oh
Okay.
shoot, we should tell the people on the podcast this."
I have a funny visual I use with my clients, but it's basically like we're all in our current life, unless you're actively working on something new, we're all in our comfort zone, which is basically safe in the cave. It might not be an amazing life, it might not be the best life, but it's familiar, it's comfortable. And anytime we want to create a new result in our life, as you know, you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to, and I analogies. And so I think of like hiking the trail, right? If you want to get to the top of the mountain, you have to leave the cave. You have to hike the trail and you're going to hit obstacles. And I have like a graphic that shows where you start to meet that resistance. And
Hold on
so,
for 1 second. I'm going to pause you
yeah.
because I am going to have to edit this because your audio keeps dropping.
Mm,
Are you hardwired in?
yeah.
So weird. I don't know why it's
Yeah,
doing
and
that.
definitely don't have the unstable internet.
Do you have a bunch of tabs open?
Not really. I mean, I have a few I can close just to see.
This is like the good stuff. I was like, oh shoot, of course her audio is
It's
dropping, right?
super windy here though, so I don't know if
Oh,
I
that's
don't know
weird
if
that the
that's
wind affects the internet, isn't it?
unless it's the wires out there. I don't know enough to know. Let me see. I'm closing everything else.
Can you tell that your video is freezing?
Mm. No, because it looks fine on my end.
Okay.
And I let me
Like you'll pixelate and then it'll go and then I'll miss a word or two.
I have no idea what to do with that.
I know it's
Yeah, because it doesn't show that there's any connection issue.
No, I know it doesn't say at all.
Because usually if I'm having problems on my end, it'll say unstable, but I have not got that yet.
I have one more. Can you restart your computer and come back in? And I'll just wait here.
Yeah, I can do that. All right, we'll see you in a minute.
Okay. La 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 la.
Better. All
How's
right.
that? Yay!
Works better.
That seems much better.
Good. Good.
So I'm going to go blah, so I know where the cut is. And so where were, oh yes. So that our audience knows, because I've been talking about it. What is new bitch energy?
Okay. So new bitch energy is a process I developed. It's a concept, a theory, whatever you want to call it, to help people go after these new things in their life. And so, as I had mentioned, everyone in their life where they are something new, they're in their comfort zone, which I like to refer to as safe in the cave, right? It might not be a really happy life, but it's familiar and it's comfortable. Right? And so, anytime you want to create a new result in your life, you have. And once you get a certain distance from your cave, it is going to feel uncomfortable. It has to. It needs to feel uncomfortable. Otherwise, you're not learning anything new. And what I found is my clients could get the energy up to go after something new, but they were coming to me having spent so much time in the why energy. Do this? Why do I always do that? Why don't I feel motivated? Why this or that? And so I developed a process which gets rid of the whys and is all the hows. It's like the obstacle, the challenge, the struggle. And maybe we spend a little time trying to understand why, just for awareness sake, but we don't drop anchor there. It's like, okay, this is where you are. This is where your growth is. And this is the process to help you speed up the journey to get to that new result. And not that it's about working harder. It's oftentimes about working less and spending less time, because you're focusing on the stuff that matters and not all this self-induced research solving that they do, thinking they know what's wrong with them.
And I mean, I've been in a lot of programs to try and help people unstick themselves from things. And it's so true. You have stories so often about the why I'm stuck here and this is what I'm doing. And when you leave that space that you're used to, it throws all that up into your face if you've been
Yeah,
avoiding it, right?
totally. Yeah, it definitely does. And it's interesting. I'm working on developing some new concepts now on this whole idea of like lean into the pain. Like, don't even try to avoid it. I'm doing a lot of this in my personal life, and I think in the last 2 weeks, I've had 4 huge breakthroughs because I'm going through some stuff in my personal relationship that is bringing up a lot of work I still need to do, which is really interesting. And I'm like head first into my pain, which has been so fascinating, both on a personal level and as a coach who knows the process. And so I'm working on adding a layer of that in there as well. It's like productive pain in a way.
Right. And it's interesting that we've created this, um, I call it Pleasantville, where it's like, no, nobody ever has to be in any pain. Nobody ever has to suffer. Nobody ever has to feel lost. We don't even let kids lose anymore. It's like everybody gets a medal.
Mm,
It's like, I don't know that that's setting us up for the future when we actually do have to face something that challenges us. We don't have the tools to equip us like to get through it. And it's interesting. You're diving head first into yours. You're like, Yahoo! With your hat over your head, like
well, yeah. And it's interesting because prior to this, like most people have quite a bit of trauma in my childhood. I did a lot of therapy to clean that up. But I had spent the majority of my adult life creating a safe existence, which for me looked like me single with a stable job. And like my emotions never veered to about 3% from neutral either way.
right,
So dead set in my cave. I was like in the basement of the cave. And my life wasn't awful. It wasn't phenomenal though. It's like because the degree at which you're willing to experience negative emotion is a direct indicator of how deep you'll experience positive opposite.
right,
Meaning the more willing I am to be vulnerable, the more deep I will feel connected.
right.
the more willing I am to risk failure, the more success I'll be able to experience. And so it was really fascinating for me. I left my cave. I like walked off the side of a cliff and I didn't even know if there was a tree there. And for me, it was like, oh, this is a whole new ballgame. But I'll tell you, I think the most interesting part is that it is hard. That's the fun part. Because if it was easy, it wouldn't be that exciting, whatever yours is, right?
Right. And I think people are like, you miss the richness of life if you, especially if you're in the basement. Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like day. It's like Groundhog Day. And it's so interesting because it's almost like in that pursuit for safety, like we want to protect ourselves from any danger, so to speak. We end up letting the burglar in the house and locking the door.
Nice.
And so it's like developing self-trust and getting like trusting yourself to make it when you're out of the cave. Right.
Now, there are people that I know who are on the other end of it where it's too wide. Like their down is too far and their up is too high. And
Oh,
it's almost like
interesting.
I don't think they're bipolar, but it's like everything is drama.
Oh, that is so interesting.
So,
Have you looked into human design at all? Have you ever looked into
oh
that?
yes.
Oh, I'm obsessed with human design.
Are you?
I was just wondering if that was linked to like a human design thing for them.
Oh, I wonder if it is. Now that we've brought it up, I have to ask you, what's your profile?
I'm a manifesting generator of 5-1.
Ooh, look at you.
What are you?
I'm a projector,
God, my boyfriend's a projector.
right? Oh, we did talk about this. I remember.
Yes, we did. What's your profile?
Let me go
2-4.
2-4. Wait, let me make sure. Yep, 2-4.
That's exactly what my boyfriend is. Isn't that
He must
funny?
be great.
He's phenomenal.
So my person, I'm not going to name any names, but the person I know who's almost like too much, everything is very dramatic and blown, is a generator. At
Do you know the profile?
3 3
3-5.
3-5. Sorry, 3-5.
Oh, interesting.
Emotional authority. If people don't know what we're talking about, don't you worry. Because if it hasn't come out yet, I can't remember when I'm talking to her. There is a human design coach who's going to come on and talk
Oh
to
my
me.
gosh, and you guys for sure should look into it. It's so fascinating to learn about your
It
human
is
design.
it is fascinating. And the interesting thing about the human design for me was someone that I was in a mastermind with talked about it. And she's a very she's a very serious, this is how we do things, kind of a personality. And I didn't really understand. She would say every now and then something about human design. And I didn't even really clue in what it was. And
Yeah.
then someone else I knew mentioned it. And I said, I should find out what this is. And then you just fall down this hole of
I'm the
finding.
same way. I don't in my coaching, I don't do a lot of woo-woo, because I'm all about just getting shit done, but the self-love stuff is a softer part of that. But when I first learned about it, I was like, "Wait, what is this? How is this so accurate about me?" I've never had anything peg me so specifically. And I reached out to a client that I still work with that I had been working with for about 2 years, and I said, "Hey, I'm totally geeking out on this human design stuff and I'm studying it 24/7. Can I study your chart? I won't charge you or anything. I'm just curious." And once I studied hers, I was in because it was everything we had been coaching on.
Oh, right.
She started crying when I presented all the information to her because she felt so validated in her experience. It was so fascinating.
Yes,
So
it's very true.
fascinating.
It can be like, it is very woo-woo, right? It's,
Yeah, it's
the
very woo.
it's astrology and the I Ching, and it's like this combination of all of these things, and they're all mixed together. But it's the same thing happened when I read my chart. I went, "Oh my God."
Right?
Because it was the description of what it was like to be me on the inside, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to
Yeah,
explain it.
I was like,
100%.
"Holy moly, someone does actually understand what the inside is."
Yeah, it's so
And it's
interesting.
liberating because
Yeah.
then you can say, "Okay, that makes sense now. I'll stop fighting that and just get on with my life."
Yeah. Yeah. I
Right.
love it. I think it's so fascinating. So
And do you
fascinating.
still use it with your clients?
I do. I just, I have a new client. I did hers and she's a projector. She's a 5-1 projector. I did it today. And it was interesting because she told me her boss keeps trying to get her to stop doing all the work and to manage more. And she has so much resistance to the judgment around not working hard. And I said, "You're a
Right.
projector. You are not supposed to be in the trenches, my friend."
Yes, we're not.
That's, no.
That doesn't mean we're lazy, by the way.
No, your genius is managing, efficiency, consulting. Yeah, for sure.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
I've always been much better at telling people what to do than doing
It's a
it
beautiful gift. It's a beautiful gift.
right? So when you're helping people, so because this just it segued a little bit, it's like you said you help people get shit done, but you're a self-love coach. I'm like, are you the tough love self-love coach?
No. No, when I need to be, I don't, it's interesting. I don't have, it's not a cookie cutter. Like the approach with my clients is not even remotely cookie cutter. I don't have a set program other than my new bitch energy framework. Everything else is super custom to that client and what they're going through. And that is kind of my genius. I think a lot of that is my 5-1 and my manifesting generator stuff. But, no, I'm not a tough love. My my superpower is making difficult things fun. And that depends on the client, right? For some clients, difficult is not working a weekend, like letting themselves take a weekend off. For some of my clients, it's not calling themselves a dumbass. Right?
Right?
Just depends on where they are in their journey. So no, but no, I'm not tough. I'm tough when I need to be, but it's a mixed bag of tricks. It's
Right.
very fun. Yeah.
And it is true that every person needs something different.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes, I'll get on the phone with someone and they'll say, "Well, tell me what we're going to do." I'm like, I can't really answer that question very well,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
for people who haven't experienced coaching, and there's people who just want to see the framework and the layout and the step by step by step and where are we going to go. It is a journey that they're going on it and you're just there to help them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's the obvious basics like mindset,
Yeah.
processing emotions. I used to be like a heavy time management coach because I am a ninja when it comes to a calendar, but I almost did that against myself in my last career. I was so good at it, but it was because I was chasing my worth through my work. And
Right.
so you can't scratch that itch that way. So I had to keep getting faster and better. The cool thing is I developed a badass time management process, but even that, if you're not coming from a place of self-love, you'll use against yourself. And so
Well,
self-love is like the anchor.
it's true. I taught or I spoke in a summit last year about ditching your to-do list because
Mm,
it's it shouldn't be the driver of your life, right?
no, it should
And you
not.
can just make it bigger and better and look how busy I am. And you go into work or people ask you, how are you? Oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I'm so busy. But that doesn't make you feel good, right?
No, no. And it's interesting. You can hide from yourself and the work you need to do on your own personal journey in work. A lot of my clients have. They'll come to me and say, I've got all the things. I'm making X amount of money. I've got the house. I've got this and that, but I am not happy. I'm miserable. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed. And that I love doing that work because nothing feels better than learning how to love yourself.
Right.
Nothing.
And
There's yeah.
it's not a, overnight thing because there's a lot of untangling to do.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just remembering, because when I flipped the switch, uh, I was thinking about this today. When I flipped the switch to let's change this. I had the house and the car, had a company car. I was a senior executive. I had the husband, the la 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 la, not happy. I quit my job and got divorced and off I went. I
Beautiful.
I didn't have the what am I gonna do yet when I left. Like you had the coaching when you jumped off your cliff.
Yeah.
I didn't know yet what I was gonna do. Um, and yeah, it was very crazy, crazy, crazy. But it is s- I'm a
Self-projecting projector?
yes,
That's what my best friend is, that's fine.
the authority, self-projected authority. So
Yeah.
it's just like, okay, done. Made my decision. Let's go.
Good for you.
So, and it's hard. I can understand, like, for some people, that seems like it's so insane and so crazy that you can have all the things that you're supposed to have and not be happy.
Yeah. It's interesting. Have you found, I'm just kind of curious about this as like as a coach, one of the things I didn't really expect to be such a challenge is like my friends struggling, like not helping them, like not going into coach mode with friends. I have a friend that is in that headspace now where trying to find happiness outside of herself. And yeah, as it's so hard. Friendships have changed so much for me. It's interesting. I'm curious if you notice the same.
So, I think I've always been able to see what's wrong in people's lives,
Mhm.
um, because I've always been that always been on the quieter side and
Mm,
the sit and listen person, and
mhm.
I was shy when I was young, so I think I just developed that skill early,
Yeah.
and so when I see friends, I can see it, but maybe if it's my projector side, maybe I've just learned, like, I don't say anything unless they ask me.
Oh, that is such a good skill. I've learned it, but man, is it hard for me. Sometimes I feel like I'm internally bleeding. I'm like, "Oh God, please, please ask me for help. I can help you." My poor boyfriend, I've had to get so much exercise with him. I've just let him be a human and not intervening.
Well, and I mean, the times that I have just been sick of it and said something, it hasn't landed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're not prepared to hear it, they can't hear it, and, one of the things about and people are gonna go crazy with us talking about human design if I haven't posted the human design interview yet, but, um, as a projector, like, I do have one of my superpowers is that I can see. I understand the context of what's going on, and I can just see where people are struggling so
Yeah.
easily, but, no one can actually hear what I have to say unless they invite me to tell them.
It is interesting and it's accurate. I mean, this stuff sounds so woo-woo, but I am telling you, it is so crazy. I run my business based on my human design authority and strategy, and I have never loved it more. Never loved
Right?
it more. It's so
Yeah,
fun.
and it's true, like, yes, we're all individuals and we're all unique, but the interesting thing also I didn't expect this to go human design. The interesting thing about human design is, um, there's generalizations, but there's also a lot of specifics in it, right? So,
Yeah.
yes, I'm a projector, and that says this about me. I'm a 2/4, and that says this about me, but then you get down into all the little nitty-gritty details of it, and
Mhm.
it's all very specific, like, I have none of my lower, um, blah, blah.
Oh, defined centers.
Yeah, I have no
Yeah.
lower defined centers at all, which is very strange for me, for
Yeah.
some people, but some people it's all lower defined and they operate differently. And I have friends who are projectors and we're all different. But
Yeah, and I do think the human design helps with the self-love because it helps you understand more of who you are. So many people, and myself included, have so much judgment about their tendencies and their um not compulsions, but just their default reaction to certain things. And there's so much judgment around it and so much time and energy spent criticizing it and trying to hide it from other people and change it. It's like, no, that comes with the gifts on the other side. And if you get rid of that, you also get rid of the other. It's like, no, this is part of the unique ecosystem that you, this human, is in the world. Learn how
right.
to love what that is and like enjoy the benefits that come along with that. I think it's
And the
beautiful.
comparisons that we get into, like often we're comparing ourselves to the wrong people.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure.
So,
Yeah.
I think I read somewhere at some point that most people who are portrayed on movies and television are like generators or something like that, like people who have tons of energy and get
Mm,
stuff done and boom, boom,
yeah.
boom, 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 which, not everybody's like that.
They're not supposed to be,
They're
yeah.
not supposed to be like that at all. And I remember because I was a corporate finance executive, and man, did I work hard, and man, did it take me a long time to recover from that.
I bet. I
right?
bet. Yeah.
I
It's
spent 15 years as a CPA doing
mm,
you got to work hard, you've got to slave, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And so, yeah, that didn't work really well for me.
yeah. And then, I mean, we're so conditioned. We're so heavily conditioned in society. It's interesting. My boyfriend I mentioned is also a projector. He somehow, like, he doesn't care at all about the human design stuff, but he somehow is living by his authority organically. Like, that guy will let himself rest. I mean, he works, he's a football coach and he has a side hustle. So he stays pretty busy. But if he's not working, he will rest with zero apologies. He has no problem with it. And I'm a manifesting generator. So I'm all over the place. And he's just straight chilling. Like, I'm not apologizing for it. You knock yourself out. I'm gonna be over here chilling.
He's a smart man.
Yeah. So, but imagine if he wasn't okay with that part of him, he would try to keep up with me and he would use me to make himself feel bad. Right. It's
Right.
interesting.
And it's true, like if you're trying to keep up with someone that you think like you can have mentors and idols and things, but you don't have to be that person, right?
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to live that life that they're living
Right.
if it's not serving you, if it's not making you feel good, if it's not letting you be who you are. And this is true of all coaching. I mean, the human design part of it is just makes it extra awesome, I think, right?
Yeah. It just adds the flavoring of it.
It adds that extra little bit of awesome that helps people be okay being who they are instead of keeping up with whoever it is they think they need to keep up with that day.
Yeah, and that I mean, I don't do a ton of coaching on the human design part of it, but I do run my own profiles and I store it in their account. So when they struggle, I'll do a glance over and I go, "Oh, of course you're struggling with that. Here's why. Now what? Now we're
Whoa, she's gone. What the heck?
that was weird." Yeah.
What happened? Did your computer turn off or
No, it started both. You started spinning and then I started.
you must be having some crazy ass storm down there? Maybe there's solar flares.
I don't know. It's definitely super, but I haven't gotten any errors on my connection. So
I
I don't
know. I don't
know.
know if it's I don't know what the hell. But all of a sudden you were like gone. I'm like, oh my God. She's in Oklahoma. She's going off to Oz.
Oh goodness, it's a bummer. Mm.
Well, we'll keep going. I'll listen to it at the end. And if something terrible happened, we'll just figure out a day to like hook it back to reconnect and do it again.
Okay.
But I'll listen to it afterwards to make sure it sounds like people can actually get a sense of what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. We can definitely reshoot if we need to.
Right? What were
Yeah.
we talking about?
What are you talking about? I
Self-love.
think I was talking about normalizing, using the human design to help my clients normalize the things they're struggling with and then come up with a strategy on how to like navigate that.
And I find that people like it gives you permission to like be okay that you are who you are and
Mm.
that you it somehow takes away that pressure of having to live somebody else's idea.
Yeah. 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 Self-acceptance. It's a fun addition to it.
And I think about I don't know why this always comes to me. The Runaway Bride, was that it with Julia Roberts?
Mm-hmm.
Where she had like she kept trying to please everybody else and she kept going down the aisle. And then it wasn't until she actually just stopped doing what everybody thought she should do that she actually, got into touch with what she actually wanted in her life. And of course, it's Hollywood, so they get
Yeah.
married in the end, blah, 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 blah. But it was more fascinating for me that she actually unhooked herself from the I've got to stop doing the same thing over and over and over again, which hers was going down the aisle because I think that's what I should do. And let's see what I actually want to do.
Yeah, permission to do what you want to do is like such a not familiar, such a foreign concept. So many people, like, oftentimes just have to around people getting to a place where they're okay letting themselves do that. It's like, wait,
Right.
what? I can do it. Well, especially the business owners, 100%. So it's just life gets so much juicier and more fun
And we
when you
haven't been
step
well
in.
prepared for it. Like if you think about from the time you start asking for things, no, no, you have to ask permission to do this. Like I had to ask permission to leave the dinner table and you
Mm,
have to put your hand up to do anything in school. So we're so used to asking for permission for everything. We forget that we are
yeah.
beings with free will, my friends.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I used to, in my last job, I traveled all the time and flying all over the US, and it's exhausting. And so a lot of those trips happen over weekends. And it was so interesting. I've developed my work schedule where I don't have clients on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I do back end business stuff, or I just take a day off. And so yesterday, I was literally sitting on my couch watching Vanderpump Rules, which is this like trashy reality show that I love, playing with my dogs. And it was like 11 a.m. on a Thursday. And I thought, how amazing is this that I have this life now where I'm literally doing something old me couldn't have even fathomed. I could never have fathomed doing something like that during a work day. And I thought, why wouldn't we all want to do this for ourselves? Not that specifically, but to create that kind of freedom for ourselves.
Right. I did
Beautiful.
exactly the same thing that I take Thursdays now and I have an art studio and I go and spend like all day painting.
Oh, I love it. I love
Right?
it.
It's like and I'm like, "It's a Thursday." Whoa,
It's
so
so
crazy.
fun. So fun. So fun.
Right?
Yeah.
And so do you do groups or do you just do individuals?
Right now I'm doing individual. I'm fully booked. I have a few clients that have been needing me to do a membership, to do a monthly where I do group coaching and then just host different fun trainings. A lot of my clients are making friends. I'm going to do social find a friend
Right.
mixers, which would be all virtual, of course.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing I'm working on, which would be just a monthly membership. Stay as long as you want, leave when you want, like a more accessible, also known as less expensive,
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
more community. And I want to, and I think in the moving world, it's some branches of the coaching and call it charge more, charge more, charge more. But I don't want to get to a point where the only people that can afford me are the people that don't need it.
Right.
I hate to have a lot of drama around that internally, which I appreciate. So this is my solution to that.
Then you can have the best of both.
Yeah, and I tend to attract really fun. I only work with women. I tend to attract similar types like me, which I guess we are our niche. But fun, they get in there, support the other women. It's I've done a few groups. I really enjoy it.
Right. Yeah. There's an energy in groups that's different. There's an energy in one-on-one that's different. I I don't like to choose. So I won't.
What do you mean?
I mean, in the groups, I find in the groups that people bring extra, well, the energy people bring with them, it kind of compounds like um
Oh,
because there's more of you in there and everybody's supporting each other and other ideas come in. It's kind of like being almost in a mastermind where even if I'm leading it, people have other contributions. So it adds, it's greater than the sum of its parts.
yeah,
And one on one, I really like because I like to get the deep dive into
yeah,
what's going on with someone and like give them my full energy and attention. So it's different.
yeah.
And I love them both, really.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think my dream mix is probably 10 one-on-one clients and then the membership in more of a
Right.
group format. Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome.
Yeah.
So not where I expected this conversation to go, but it was so good.
Yeah, it was so fun.
But don't go yet. Before you go, I'm wondering if you have some final words of wisdom for our friends out in podcast land.
You can always choose self-love, even when you make mistakes, even when you do, and I use air quotes, the wrong thing. So if you're struggling, like a great question is like, what if I chose to love myself unconditionally here? How would I show up? And then trust that answer.
That's awesome. I like the switch of the question. That's amazing. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
you're very
Michelle.
welcome.
Thank you. And friends out in podcast land, check out Michelle. She is at lifeleapcoaching.com. She's in the show notes. Definitely go over there and see what's happening. And always, my friends, send yourself some self-love. If you want to send some love to your friends, send them this podcast. And we will see you next time.